Welcome back to episode 41 of the Leeds Rhinos Podcast. My name is Phil Daly. I'm the head of media and PR. It's a Monday, which means it's our match review edition, and we'll be looking back on Friday's defeat to St Helens here at AMT Henley. Two dramatic games here at AMT Henley. Our women lost with the last kick of the game against Saints, and then obviously we had a narrow defeat. No score in the second half, 6-0 against Paul Wellens St Helens side in the men's Betfred Super League game. We'll look back on that. I'm delighted to be joined by assistant coach Chev Walker, and we'll be looking through that game. We'll also be looking ahead to this Friday's clash against Salford Red Devils, who had a fantastic win against Castlewood Tigers on Sunday. So they'll come with plenty of confidence to AMT Henley, looking to kickstart their season after a really tough year for the Red Devils. And we'll look ahead to that. And we'll also catch up with Chev talking about the fantastic exploits of our reserves and academy teams, who are doing fantastic. They're top of their leagues and doing really well against their own counterparts across Super League. Chev, it was a frustrating night. I think that's probably the word that encapsulates it best. 6-0 at half-time. Just that one try came off an error from us, and really that was all it was between the sides.
Yeah, and the word frustration got brought up a lot today in review. And even more so now looking back at it, there was a lot of opportunities for us. But because we played frustrated and the game became frustrating, we missed so much with the ball in the attack. And then just the errors, the concentration level probably made the boys a little bit more tired than usual. And yeah, talk about moments. It was one missed tackle, one system error-ish for their try. That in the end cost us. But we looked at it today and went out and practiced some little bits that we can reintroduce and just take it as a reminder of what we do well and what we left out there on the field on Friday.
Yeah, I suppose it's a reminder that the game's played on grass, not on paper, because when you look through the stats, we had more possession than them overall, more possession inside their half than they had in ours, and 2 more minutes more possession in their 20-metre than they had. So those are the sort of markers you look at. We made more runs, more run meters, nearly 300 more run meters, of which 100 of them were more gain lines. And the playable speed, ours were quicker, but it was those errors, 17 errors to their 8, and more missed tackles than them that probably cost us.
Yeah, and that paints a picture, but I think that was probably the most resilient Saints performance I've seen for a while, probably in the last 2 years, to be honest. From to lose 2 9s and then have a man in the bin at one stage, I thought they were really resilient to their D. And they really nailed that assignment.
Yeah, and Paul Wellens in his press conference afterwards talked about the work that Eamon O'Carroll's done there in terms of improving their defence. When we beat them at Magic earlier in the season, that seems to have been a point where they've drawn a line in the sand and they really have sort of nailed that part of their game, haven't they?
Yeah, and it was evident on Thursday in the reserves, in the 18s as well, that the change of not DNA, because it's not too quick to become the DNA, but definitely evident that there was being more aggressive with the line speed and more pressure from the inside and really trying to slow the ruck down. And again, that's probably where we lost his frustration, is that we're the ruck was scruffy, but I think it was because they were heavily invested in trying to put it in their flavour and slow it down a little.
Yeah, I mean, you tell me if this is an indicator of it, but I look here at the tackling stats. 3-man tackles, we had 44, they had 64, so they're getting bodies, and 4 plus. We only had 3, they had 9. They had 3 times as many. Is that suggesting what you're saying there in terms of bodies getting in there?
Yeah, and again, our forward pack's been unreal this season with a go forward and really laying a platform, but. Credit to Saints, they got in there and did a job. Our boys didn't take a backward step, but it just disrupted the way that we've been playing for the last few weeks. So they've obviously looked at it and found a way to nullify what we've been so good at.
Yeah, it's interesting. Back when you were playing, Saints were the entertainers, weren't they? They'd love to throw the ball around. We've seen a heavily defensive performance there to grind out a 6-0 win. I was really surprised earlier in the year when we played, just the other week there, when we played at the Totally Wicked Stadium, they got a penalty within, I think it was about 10, 15 minutes of kick-off, and they went to kick for goal for it, which seems totally against everything we'd think of Saints. But presumably you've got to, with the pieces you've got, come together performance, especially with them losing both nines.
Yeah, and they've had a tough time. And Wello was under a little bit of pressure there at the beginning of the year. So probably finding ways for that group to win is probably the best way to tick the scoreboard over, is take the two and take some pressure off yourself. So you'll have to be very disciplined against them, I reckon, in the next few weeks, months, because if they're going to defend like that, then you're going to have to really work hard to break them down and try and stop them from tallying up the scoreboard. So discipline and being able to combat their defensive ruck is probably the way forward next.
Ryan Hall was talking afterwards, after the game, to the rest of the boys and saying about, we are going to have to deal with these frustrations. More than likely, if we get to the playoffs, we're probably going to have to meet them again at some point. How do you deal with that? How those frustrations? Is it just a question of sticking to the game plan?
Yeah, and also just reminding ourselves not to get frustrated. It's I thought the boys have openly spoke about it this morning, is that they felt frustrated. They went away from concentrating on what was needed in that moment, or in any given moment within the game on Friday. And it's not been like that for the last few weeks, or even for the last few months, to be honest, where the lads have been able to reset themselves, not really react to it, but action what they've been practicing during the week. And it was a one-off for us, I reckon, where we got a little bit bogged down in the heat of the battle. And the group's great. They learn all the time, and they want to learn, they want to rectify the mistakes. So I'm sure that they'll take on board what was said today in the review and find a way to combat that next time.
We saw it, didn't we, the week before at Hull KR, that Hull KR had a lot of possession and them opportunities they didn't take in the first half, and second half we reset at half time, and then obviously came with that dominant second half showing.
Yeah, and again, it's the contrast between we took the opportunities that was there last week against Hull KR. This week, just the boys just said they didn't see it. They didn't see what was there, and again, it's having that ability to let what's gone go and think about the next job. Whereas on Friday it looked, and today they confirmed it, was that there was fixated on refs calls, things that we've just not been doing. So we will do, and I'm sure they will, is get that back away from the game and concentrate what they need to do at that given time.
And it's an incredible record in a bad way that we have recently against St Helens. They just seem to, the way the style they've been playing. I mean, the Magic weekend was Harry Newman's first ever win against Saints, and we haven't clocked up too many of them. Sometimes do you have an opposition that asks you questions that you have to work harder? I remember back from your playing days, first of all, it was Bradford, then we managed to get one over the MLM. I remember Wigan in 03, we just couldn't find a way to beat them guys. Sometimes you just takes a longer time to work out that particular puzzle.
Yeah, and they say in boxing all the time, styles make fights, and sometimes it's one of those. But I suppose when the next time we'll meet them, there'll be playoffs, and it's a completely different dynamic again. So we don't want to get bogged down with thinking that they're a bogey team. We've shown that we've got enough resolve and enough attack in us to cause them issues. I think we just have to concentrate and look after what we're really good at.
Yeah, and just looking at some of the individual performances, top tackler back up the top of the charts, Jared O'Connor, 46, no misses from Jared, which is a great effort from him. He even managed to get a little bit of a break this week with Andy returning to the side. Callum Watkins, 45, just one behind Jared, and Cam Smith with 31. And it was good to see Cam getting some good game time out there.
Yeah, he's built his game back now as Cam, and he's really starting to pull the shots again defensively. Very industrious, as is Cal and Jared. I think they've been outstanding for us all year. As forwards, I don't think they could have done anything more at the weekend. They really stuck to task and got their jobs done on both sides of the ball. And put us in some good spots. So yeah, them three have been very good performers for us for the last month or so.
Yeah, I felt for Jake Connor on Friday. You could see how hard he was trying to try and create something and trying to find those passes that he was trying to put Alfie away. It's like sometimes it's a question of just trying too hard.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say that. You took the words out of my mouth there. Yeah, I thought that he, for how he's been playing, he's been flowing a lot. Like over the last few weeks, where everything he's pulled has come off. It looked like he was thinking and overthinking things on Friday. And his best games are when he's flowing. And when he's in that state, then he's a tough player to play against.
Yeah, and then meters with the ball. Lockie Miller, not surprisingly, always tops that chart. 267. Brodie Croft, 160. Brodie ran with the ball a lot, didn't he, on Friday? And Alfie Edgell, 153. Good, tough night for Alfie. Took a couple of big bangs, but he was so resilient. He could back up again and going again.
Yeah, he's so brave. Even at OKR, like off of a short turnaround, he was battered and bruised in that game. Again, played brave and did his job to the best of his ability, and actually came away with the Players Award this week. So credit to him. He's stepped in there for Riley, and he's looked like he's trying to grab it with both hands.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job. Sadly, out of the game, we've learnt that we've lost Mikolaj Oledzki. He's got a fracture to his cheekbone and eye socket that he's awaiting surgery. Hopefully later in the week, maybe beginning next week. It's down to the swelling on his face, but he'll likely be out for 6 to 8 weeks. A tough one for Mick, and it wasn't a penalty in the game. There's been no bans have come out of it. It's a tough one for Mick.
It is. It's disappointing for Mick and for our group, and it's hard to think that someone's come off with a face fracture and there's been nobody been disciplined for it. Only this time 12 months ago, that's an A-match ban. Now we're not looking for people to get banned. Things do happen, but if we're looking at the player welfare and talking about longevity of the head collisions, there has to be something that comes from that, or at least you'd think that it would result in a penalty. There was a clash of heads, and if we're trying to prevent that stuff, then it needs to be clamped down on and eradicated from the game.
Yeah, and obviously we were missing Tom Allred for suspension for a clash of heads for that game. So it's a tough one to get your head around. Obviously the guys there have got their reasons for that. I'm sure they'll come out and let us know about that. Away from the first team, your transition coach role with the reserves and academy, you must be delighted with how those boys are going at the moment.
I am. Yeah, they've been a great group, and again, they are really transitioning at the minute. We've 8 of them have just gone full time. So it's left our academy boys with very little numbers now. And then the lads that have gone full time, they seem to be struggling with the adapting to day on, day off, and they're out of the routine. So it's a good challenge for myself to try and keep them engaged and on it while they're out of routine, while this becomes the new routine. But performance wise, they're turning up every week and performing. A lot of them are first years 18s, but have had a little taste of reserves and played well. Zach Lloyd to mention as a standout. Jacob Hardy as well within that. But yeah, so the 18s and the reserves are doing very well. But again, playing to principles and just having that trickle down from the first team really helps. And when they see it done at the top, they want to emulate that and get after it themselves.
Yeah, and how important is it? I know, remember, obviously, last time you were coaching the academy, we won a grand final. Through your playing career, the academy team were successful. How important is it for those players to have success as they, it's all about development, but actually, knowing going to games that winning is an important part of it.
Yeah, it's massive. Winning's a habit, and to be a winner, you've got to have done something good, and it's generally a byproduct to doing the right thing for longer than the opposition. So never talk about winning. I often talk about the performances and what it takes to do that week in, week out, and the byproduct is we get wins. And the lads get after that, and it takes a little bit of pressure off them when they know that they just have to do their job to the best of their abilities. And then it's up to us as coaches to fill their toolkit and give them an education of how you win games and what's needed to win games. But then without getting ahead of ourselves, if we get some grand final experience for him, it's that big game occasion for that level, which then should in turn give them the confidence when they go to the next stage. Is they've already felt under pressure in what is a big game for them. So yeah, it's part of the development.
And in some of the talk, there's a lot of talk around the future of the game and where, amount of teams in Super League. We've heard last week that the overseas quota is going to go up and things like that. One of the things we've talked about is the importance of overseas tours and getting that back on the agenda. You were fortunate enough to tour. How important do you think that is, testing yourself again, whether against the Australian schoolboys over here or going over to Australia and New Zealand?
Yeah, huge. When you want to, and especially when you look over at the NRL and the production line that they have, any opportunity for the lads to go and test themselves against what is so-called the best can only benefit the game in the long run. If you have a strong international game, going back to the quota thing that you just mentioned there about the quota spots getting having more. It's a dangerous thing that we're doing there, especially when the NRL are getting 2 new franchises. We run the risk of our good kids now going over there earlier, knowing that they're not ready to play Super League, but they might be able to go play Q Cup and develop over that side of the world. I think it's a little bit short-sighted. I think clubs should be producing their own, or at least producing players for the game. If they can't quite play at your club, they should be heavily produced by clubs for the good of the game here. And by raising that quota spot, I think it's very risky.
Yeah, I heard Franny Cummins on Radio Leeds saying exactly the same thing. And obviously, Fran's heavily involved over at Hull now, and you can see where if people want a shortcut, how that's the solution. But it's, as you say there, it's a dangerous option, especially with those 2 new franchises coming into the NRL.
Yeah, and that's it. And it's just it's concerning for me is that every club in this country that's heavily invested in their academy has been successful. The 4 teams that have won the grand final all had great academies at some point or heavily invested in it. We don't need to reinvent anything. And like I say, I think it's short-term success, but it could be a hindrance to the game in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, Herbie Farnworth, when he went over there, it was the exception rather than the rule. And people were like, going, well, he's going to the other side of the world trying to, and it has been a success for him because he's an exceptional player.
Yeah.
But what you don't want to see is kids going over being sold a dream and then being lost to the game.
No, and that's it. But again, if they're going to be limited with opportunity here, and the NRL clubs are trying to bolster out with good 21-year-olds. We've already seen that with Smithies and Matt Nicholson that have gone over there pretty early in their careers. It's that tier below that they're going to end up targeting and looking at, and that's a concern. But hopefully we're able to secure our own and bring them through, and rest of the clubs follow suit, so we don't need to use all quota spots to try and fill our squads to be successful. Yeah,
I mean, we had situations this year, haven't we, where we had 3 quota players playing in the reserves because they weren't required for first team, which seems to be a strange situation. We're then expanding the quota slots, and I suppose it also it's about bringing quality. It's not against overseas players, but it's about the quality of the player. And then by having a restriction means you have to think, right, well, how do we fill the other spots? How do we become creative around our salary cap to make sure we've got a squad that can compete?
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. You want players that want to be at your club for the right reason. And there's not one kid in any academy that's not chose that club. Majority because they're talented, and there's a good bunch of kids in there that have chose, say for instance, us over Wigan or Saints, and probably all 3 clubs wanted them at the time. So them kids want to be here, and the more we develop them, it'll start to feel like it's their club, and then you get that longevity part of it, and the rest is history, as I say.
Absolutely. Looking ahead to this week, Salford had a fantastic win against Castleford on Sunday. You really feel for those guys, what they've been through. Everyone in the club, people in the back office, not just the players. What they've been through this year, and to get that win on Sunday probably feels like a huge weight lifted off their backs.
Yeah, it will be. And just looking at them, Salford's DNA has been very flamboyant, throw the ball around. And in the last couple of weeks, it's looked like they've tried to make themselves our team to beat, and got some grit about what they're trying to do, and they're starting to. Well, they got the fruits for it on Sundays. That they could have quite easily gone down when they were 16-10 down, and they found a way to get back into it, and it was through hard work, really. So, it's great for them, but they've had a taste of winning as well now. So that little bit of confidence boost for them makes them dangerous.
Yeah, you'd feel for Paul Rowley. He must have run over a black cat or something, because they have that win and everything else. Then they lose Nicarima. It looks like he's got quite a serious wrist injury, so it is tough on them. Having lived through what those guys have been through when your time at Bradford, how, go back to the word frustrating, how frustrating is you to see that we still find ourselves in a similar situation. We don't seem to have moved on when it comes to particularly looking after the players and making sure that they're putting their bodies on the line, that they're getting their rewards for it.
Yeah, and like I say, when we were going through it at Bradford, we was never not paid. We was paid a little bit late. We obviously had the points deduction early, but the core of the group stayed together, and it was tough. It was tough, but you find a way to bond over that adversity. Salford have been a little bit less fortunate. They've had good players leave, and it's been a tough old road for them. So you hope that they get sorted soon, and that we can move forward with it, and it never happens again within the game. But again, I think it's overreaching. I think it's a lot of it is trying to keep up with the Joneses and not really knowing where you stand within the competition. And you're not future proofing your club. It's very short sighted trying to pay a lot of money for some overseas players to get you into a playoff situation when really you've not got the resources to cover it, and a little bit of bad form or not making the playoffs costs you, and it puts you into a sticky situation which clubs find themselves in often. So it's planning and being smart with the strategy around where you actually sit.
Yeah, and that's the same for every club, isn't it? It's not just the clubs who maybe don't have bigger attendances or bigger sponsors. Here at Leeds, and we say it all the time there, you've got to cut your cloth accordingly. You can only spend money that you're bringing in. We're fortunate we've got fantastic sponsors and a great stadium that generates money for us. But Bleasy will always say in terms of contracts and things like that, we can't afford to overplay because it unbalances the squad. And we lost Sam last week to Hull, and good luck to him. He's got a 2-year deal there. But it's about the squad and making sure we can be sustainable and move forward. Yeah,
of course, and that's what these clubs done very well over the years. Is that it's not they haven't paid for the success, that now they've paid accordingly and done well, but the success has come by getting the right people. So it's and had players that have wanted to be not here because they're getting a decent pay packet. So it's sad for the players, and they need to be looked after, like you say, from the physical side of things and putting their bodies on the line to do it, for not knowing if you're going to get paid. So it is their given job at the end of the day. But we just need to make sure that it don't happen again.
Yeah, hopefully so. And we look forward to seeing. We've obviously been there twice this year and had quite good contests against them. And Salford, a proud club, over the years, and we hope they can survive and can move forward. We look forward to welcoming them to AMT Headingley here on Friday. Make sure you get down to give your support to Brad and the boys ahead of that game. It's going to be a fantastic clash against Salford Red Devils. Another Friday night action here. It's schools out game, so there's special offers there for kids to come down for a £5. Make sure you come down, enjoy summer's nights here at AMT Headingley against the Salford Red Devils. The way they play, the way we play, it should make for a great contest. So get down to see that. We're looking forward to it. Remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, so we can keep you up to date with all the latest that's coming out on our podcast channel. We've got lots of great things coming up shortly. A new episodes on Box 2 in partnership with Best Western GB Hotels, plus the latest episodes of The Knock-On Effect with Jared O'Connor and Tom Nicholson-Watton with Lockie Miller that's come out last week. If you're not seeing that yet, have a look at that. It's some great content there. Lockie keeping the boys in line, using his mature head there to steer the course onto more calm waters rather. So make sure you check that out. It's great to have a watch of that. Remember to give us a 5-star review so we can continue to climb the podcast charts and spread the word about all things Leeds Rhinos and Rugby League. And thank you for joining joining us on this edition of the Leeds Rhinos podcast. We'll be back on Thursday with our Q&A edition. If you've got any questions that you want to ask someone here at the club, make sure you get those questions in info@therhinos.co.uk. We're looking forward on Tuesday night. We've got our Gold Members evening. So if you're a Gold member, we can't wait to see you here at AMC Henley. You're going to have a great night with the players and the coaching staff, where you'll be able to put your questions to them direct on that one. But if you're not a Gold member, you're not coming along to that, send us in your questions and we'll get them answered for you on Thursday. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. We can't wait for Friday night when Salford Red Devils are in town. Make sure you get your ticket and be here to support the boys. Thanks for joining us.